Hey, just when you thought it was safe to listen to the Matt and Mark movie show, here comes JAWS Knockoffs June. We're back. And Mark is back. Mark back in the water with
I
us
made
this
it!
week. He's here. More elusive than Bruce the Shark or the Orca the Whale himself. Mark is here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
It's god dang good to be back. You know what would have been the
Don't
ultimate
mind my
poll?
horrific background.
What would have been the ultimate poll would have been for Jeff to have a voicemail for you this week. But he did
I
not do
know.
that shit. He did not do that. Jeff was very upset that you were not here last time. He was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I hate that guy.
I was like, "Okay, welcome to the Free Willy show. We'll have a good time." No,
I
it
actually
was.
have notes on Free Willy, though.
Okay,
Somewhere.
that's cool. That's old news. You could throw those in the garbage.
Basically,
You
I
can
was
keep
like,
those
that
for
kid is a
yourself if
piece
you
of
like.
Shit.
You can keep them for yourself if you like, or share them with a friend somewhere. It's all good. You can... This week, though, we are celebrating. This is the official start of JAWS Knockoffs June. It's the beginning of June. No more pregame bullshit. No more bonus bullshit. This is the real themed month, and we're here with our first movie. That movie is ORCA from 1977. Sometimes it's called ORCA the Killer Whale, but I have only seen it online addressed as ORCA. But if you look at the poster, like the fucking cover of my 4K says ORCA the Killer Whale, as if it's the title.
Is that for dummies that don't know what an orca is? I
It
said
is for
orca!
dumb. It is. I think it's that. You know what it is? Because this movie's very Italian. It's like Dino De Laurentiis presente, directed by Vincenzo Natalis. It's like they took the poster language and then in translation, I think somebody was like, "That must be the full title. Let's slap that whole fucking title onto the front of this movie." And it actually is a great title either way. Either way. So
So
we're going to be
basically, the
talking about
title is Killer Whale, Killer Whale.
Killer Whale. Yes, the Killer Whale, the Killer Whale. So that's what we're going to be talking about. ORCA from 1977. And so, Mark, I don't think you listened to last week's episode, but I'm just going to tell you, kind of like what we did with Billy Zanuary, I'm starting each of these episodes with a little trivia. Okay? So,
Ooh.
and the trivia specifically, I try to make it about the predator, because that's really what this is about. It's about the fucking animal in the movie that we're watching. Last week, we had some good Free Willy trivia. This week, there's not a lot of trivia for this movie. And the only thing I could find out, and this is kind of interesting, and it's ironic, especially if you know what the movie's about. And by the way, we're not doing spoilers and shit because this movie's like fucking 50 years old, so shame on you if you're like mad about spoilers. Is the orca in this movie, whenever there's live orca, is actually played by two different orcas, real life orcas from Japan, and their names were Yaka and Nepo, like Nepo baby, Yaka and Nepo.
Oh,
And
wow.
here's what's tragic, dude. Just like in the movie, they were actual mates. They had mated for life. So when you took one of them to make the movie, the other one had to come along, and it actually worked out for them because they got two orcas to make their movie. So like, hey, this one's being a little difficult. Let's shoot with the other one. And then tragically, of course, this movie is about a killer whale that loses its mate and goes on a fucking rampage. So I actually kind of thought that was cool and a little ironical.
Wow. Was the mate in like its own orca trailer? Like, I have my rider. I want skills.
That would be fucked up if
But
they
it's an
kept them
orca?
apart separately to agitate them. That would be fucked up. They were like, "You guys want to see each other? You do
Like,
this.
here's your wife.
You do this in one shot.
Act!
Act." That's horrible. So there you go. That's the best trivia I could find for orca. The orca in this movie is played by two different orcas, but for the most part, it's an animatronic orca or a fake orca that looked so real. This seems like one of those bullshitty ones, but I don't
That
care.
they used it in Free Willy.
No, Mark, because the tail, the fin on the back would have been the giveaway. The fin, as we learned last week on Free Willy, is bent because he's in captivity. These orcas are free, so the fin stands straight up.
Do you
No,
think there's orca porn where they're like, I like a bent fin?
ew, gross. Ew. So that's it. That's all we got in the way of trivia. Mark, let's talk orca. I think you watched this movie way before me, and you have been dying to talk about it. So I just want you to fucking take it away, bro. What did you think
Oh shit.
of this movie? And also, I think it's good too. We kind of did this last week, but like, I'm kind of comparing this, not one to one, but like, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Jaws. That's why we're doing this month. And we want to see like how well these movies hold up in relation to Jaws. So at the end of this episode, we're going to give this a rating. Whether we think it's Jawsome, not so Jawsome, kind of Jaws. How close to Jaws in terms of quality do we think this is? So I think maybe that's something good to maybe put you in the mindset, brother. Where did you land on
Okay,
Orca?
that sounds good. I actually thought it was. I thought it was going to be like a crappy B movie. By the way, it's also an interesting year because 1977 is the same year that Ridley Scott and David Lynch had their first feature films release. So it's actually like a really good year. So to coincide with that, I actually thought Orca was very well made. I thought it was going to be like a total piece of shit, but it's actually the very well thought out. Like it looks good. I saw a 4K copy. So to anyone watching anything below that, maybe your experience is different, but on 4K, it actually aged really well. And I think you kind of have to give it a break because it is 1977. Like, so it's automatically going to look dated and aged, but probably for its time, it looked awesome. I mean, if we're comparing it to Jaws, though, I do feel as though the effects may not be as good, but there are certain points where you're like, if they're cutting around certain things, and there's certain parts where it's just like, it does look like they do a close up of the orca, and it's like, hey, is that like a big aquarium?
Yeah, yeah.
But outside of that, it actually like when it in the night shots, when it's dragging people, when it's like jettisoning its nose and like taking out boats, and it's very different. I actually was thinking it was going to be a Jaws ripoff, but to me, it's not a Jaws ripoff because it actually goes to town,
Yeah, that's
and it's super
that's why
smart
I
because
that's why I really liked this movie, dude. Because I'm right there with you. I thought this movie was actually really fucking good. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's because it tries to do its own thing. It's not an imitator. Because it's a cool idea, right? The predator in Jaws, Bruce the shark, is like this ravenous, bloodthirsty animal. All it knows is
yeah,
blood, 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 right? The killer in Orca, Orca the killer whale, is a smart, vengeful motherfucker that like this movie is more like Cape Fear than Jaws. It's about a fucking it just so happens to
yeah,
be about
that's
an
a good
orca
one.
that's obsessed with a guy and wants to fucking ruin his life. And that sounds ridiculous, but in the movie, it's portrayed in such a way that it fucking makes sense and it totally works. And I gotta give it to you, dude. I actually thought all the action and thrills in this looked great for 1977. Even some of the opticals, some of them are a little goofy. They stretched their budget a little bit where it's like, okay, that orca is clearly not in the same icy water that is there.
Are you
They
talking about
superimpose some
whenever it did
ice.
like a jump?
Yeah, yeah, that was funny. It would do the celebratory jump and flip. That was so hilarious, man. It would cause fucking mayhem in the town, and then it would like do these jumps and flips in the water to celebrate. Some of
But
those
it's
looked
the
good
ones you
though.
see at SeaWorld where they're like,
Yes, totally.
and
Where
it's
it's
like,
being
wait, it
controlled.
but I thought it was cool because like you were saying, and as opposed to Bruce the Shark, it's cool to see like it understands accelerants. So it's like if I knock out the gas, I'll spill it into the water, and then the lamp over there's a fire, and
Dude,
I'll bash that house until it falls. It's
this
pretty.
this
It
is a movie
actually
where
felt like an intelligent orca.
the whale sets a fucking oil refinery on fire. Not, dude, and that's the other thing.
Dude,
I was laughing my
it's
ass off at
crazy
that,
how that
but
thing blows.
it really happens, dude. Okay, I got excited by that, and I got super excited. This movie is one of those like crowd pleaser movies where it's like if it sets something up visually, they're gonna pay it off. So like, set them up, knock them down. You see the oil refinery, you're like that fucking
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Something's gonna happen there, and that is amazing. But then there's this amazing bit where it's like, oh, here's this little seaside house on the bluff with its like long fucking poles going into the water, and I was like, dude, if they don't knock that fucking house down, and let me tell you, this movie is not above that. It's like, no, we're knocking the fucking house down with Bo Derek in it.
And it's gonna eat her legs. So it takes
Ah,
out the
yes.
legs of the house and the
Yes.
character's legs.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That was the only thing I thought. All the like him attacking the houses, the fucking boats when he rams his head into the boat. That's fucking awesome. The oil refinery is ridiculous, but it's fucking awesome because like it sets this huge mushroom cloud blaze and it's like doing backflips in the water to celebrate. The only thing that I
That's
that I was like,
hilarious.
yeah, that was hilarious. I was laughing. The fucking town's burning and the whales like celebrating. Um,
Yeah.
the only thing that I thought was a little ridiculous was each time it had like with Bo Derek, it kind of makes sense because the house is leaning and her legs poking out. But like, there's one where it was like when they actually go out at the end when Richard Harris is like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna go kill this whale." When you have to wait for the people to like go out onto the crow's nest or like lean out onto the stern or whatever, I don't know what the fucking ship parts are called, and then that's when the whale decides to like bump them. I'm like, that was really funny to me and not as effective, but it still looked great.
Did you also? But I think at that point there are parts where it's like the extra characters just decided to be stupid. They're like, you
Yes.
just saw and heard tales of this other guy getting like ripped off the boat. That other his friend that his father introduced him to was hanging on a thing and he got eaten. And then some other guy's just like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to hang out like that guy. And then he gets
And then he
eaten.
gets
So
eaten.
there's some really stupid character moves toward the
Yes.
end, but they're kind of expendable characters at least.
Yes. Oh,
They
dude, there's one
do
guy
some.
that's super expendable. Like when they go out at the end, I'm like, okay, it's like Charlotte Rampling, Richard Harris, the Indian guy who I love from Poltergeist. Everybody knows him from Cuckoo's Nest. That's the guy from Poltergeist too. When they go out, right? Randomly, there's the one guy who was sleeping with Bo Derek, but then there's like a fifth guy. I'm like, who the fuck was
A
that
young
guy?
guy? Is it
Zeke?
the young guy that's just
Yes.
like a. Doesn't
I
he
was like,
feel like some random Italian guy from the
dude,
producer? And
it
like,
felt like a fucking
put the cousin in the mud.
yeah, it felt like a red shirt from Star Trek. Like, okay, we need body count, but it can't be like the Indian guy. It can't be Charlotte Rampling. Let's just throw like a random guy on the boat. Because I was like, who the fuck is that?
I had no clue who he was.
Yeah, same.
I actually thought I missed something. I was like, wait a minute, am I dumb? And I just forgot who this guy was.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
dude, same.
surely there's a reason for him to be here. And then he gets killed, and I was like,
And then he
oh,
gets killed. I was
he
like,
kind
oh,
of
that's
just
why
pops
he's
out
there.
to get killed too.
That's totally the whole reason he's there, because he doesn't even get a name. I think somebody calls him something, and then he like pops over the side. It's just to die. That's it. That's that guy's whole deal.
He's like, hey, I'm here, and then he just gets ripped.
It's a me. Yeah, it's a me, ma. And then he gets eaten.
Who this is the guy that plays the Native American dude?
So that's Will
What's his name?
Sampson. Will Sampson. And he's the guy who like I think didn't he win an Academy Award for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? He's the guy that smothers Jack
I
Nicholson.
think so, yeah.
You know what's so funny though, dude? The minute I saw
Spoiler
him,
alert.
spoiler alert. The minute I saw him, I had this exact problem last week with Free Willy. In Free Willy, there's also a Native American man that helps with the whale. And for the longest time, I was like, is that the guy from Poltergeist 2? I looked it up last week and I was so sad. I was like, no, it's not the same guy. I'm just racist, I guess. I'm sorry. I like looked and I was like, this sucks. Because I was psyched for it to be that guy because I love that guy. And then this week, here we go again. I'm like, but I had it was the opposite where I was like, I'm gonna get disappointed. It's not the guy from Poltergeist 2. I'm not even gonna Google it. And then at the end of the movie, I was like, this looks exactly like the guy from Poltergeist 2. Fuck you, it is. So that's the rule.
That poor
If you
guy,
have a
by
killer
the way.
whale movie, the fucking one of the Indian guys in Hollywood has to be in it.
Yeah, it kind of almost felt a bit of the same story
Yes,
almost
a
because
little
of
bit.
that.
Yes.
It's like you need this guy to tell the lore so the dumb white man can go out there and get his ass killed.
Dude, but I gotta tell you,
But he gets killed in a terrible way. I didn't even realize he died
yeah, it's really fucked
because
up.
it was just like ice blocks fell on him.
Well, I gotta say, like, I thought, because in the movie, this is what I thought. It was like the whole time I was watching, 'cause this is a first time watch for me. Was this the first time you ever saw Orca?
Yeah, I've heard about
Same.
it, and I think I've seen posters, but
I was
I
kind of
never
impressed
bothered to
because,
watch it for some reason.
for the first half hour of the movie, Richard Harris, who was the main character, is super unlikable. Like, the whole fucking inciting incident for this movie is that he wants to just harpoon a whale for money or like collect a whale basically to sell to an amusement park. And people warn him,
Yeah,
they're like,
he
you're
said
gonna
it's
fuck
like
it
worth
up.
something.
Yeah, and you never know what it's worth. And he, in doing so, he just causes a bunch of damage. Like, he accidentally spears one that he doesn't mean to. It's like a female whale that turns out when they haul it up, it's pregnant. It's like the most tragic scene in the movie. And she just pushes out like
It's
this little
also
baby whale.
hilarious.
It is a little funny. Didn't it look like to me?
It just pops. It's like this little baby whale gets shit out, and then he's there with the hose, like
He's like, hose it off
blows
me,
off the
dick.
side.
Yeah, we should also say Richard Harris has a ridiculous Irish accent. But, okay, so the movie, that's how the movie starts. And it makes you kind of hate Richard Harris because also everybody that meets him is like, what a fucking dick. You killed the female whale for no reason. She was pregnant. Everybody in the town talks about it and knows. So I was like, how are they going to make you root for Richard Harris? And the answer is they really don't. That's actually very smart because I don't know about you, dude. I was kind of rooting for the orca throughout the movie, which made it really fun until there was a breaking point where like the orca started to take too much. Like once it bit Bo Derek on the leg, I was like, okay, orca, you've had enough fun now. You've destroyed the oil refinery. You've knocked houses down. You had to take Bo Derek's leg. I was like, fuck this. And there was this great moment, dude. I don't know what it is. I was like, this is like some badass, like Liam Neeson, the Gray type shit. There's a moment where the town has been on Richard Harris to be like, you gotta fucking go fight the whale. You're bringing all these problems. You gotta get out of here. And there's this shot of Richard Harris on the front of the boat when he decides to go out and he's in like a hood. And he looks like he hasn't slept in like 5 days. He looks like the most miserable motherfucker on planet Earth. And I don't know why I was so struck by that image and the vibe of that scene that I was like, I'm on this guy's side. Now I want him to fucking kill the whale. I came around all of a sudden. Was there ever a moment where were you rooting for Richard Harris or not rooting for him?
Even for Charlotte Rampling, she was like, "Kill it!"
Yes, even by the end, yes.
She like, and she's supposed to be the one that's like siding with the whales and doesn't. She even says that he's gonna kill all the like, she's gonna do something really stupid and cause some havoc, which of course he does. And she still likes the guy, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
But you know what? I felt that it was like he's kind of like he's one of these characters that you can't tell if he's good or not. Like, yeah, he's an opportunist, he's a fisherman, but just because you're fishing doesn't mean you're a piece of shit, right? Because
Right.
it's like a livelihood, especially for these people. And there are places where they just beat whales to death on a beach, so he's not that bad, I suppose. But he also has some sort of conscience. You can tell in his acting that he says things, but his eyes kind of tell you a different story where he's like, he really feels something when that baby dies because it also ties
Yes.
in with his backstory of having his wife and child killed by a drunk driver. So you can tell his actions, he's probably not happy with himself for what happened. But now he has to deal with the consequences. So I feel as though he talks tough with the town folk, but internally, I think he actually struggles throughout the whole thing. So part of me, when I saw those little moments where he has a conscience, I could be like, okay, yeah, I kind of don't want. He is after all a human, and I
Yes.
also thought it was funny too. But like most of the human lives, they don't really give a shit about. And it's like
No.
the baby whale, and it's like, what about his friend and his father's friend that just got eaten? Like
Yes.
no one gave a fuck about that guy.
No. Yeah, and it
But
is true, dude. The bodies do hit the floor in this, and there isn't a lot of like. It's mostly just the villagers being like, "All right." It's not. You don't even really see them mourning. They're just kind of like, "We don't want any more bloodshed. We don't want any more crap in the town. You have to take the whale away." Because he's specifically targeting. That's what I liked about the movie. Because I was like, "That's such a fucking clever idea." To use the fact, and it's such a bullshitty thing. Like somebody on the Dino De Laurentiis hired read like, you know that the whale it have the biggest brain of them all, and they're like, maybe we can use it. He's like a smart whale, and he have a real emotional problem. And they're like, that's actually kind of fucking amazing. Like the whole thing that it's just targeting him specifically, fucking with him, like that is exact premise is the premise of Jaws 4, The Revenge, right? Jaws' Revenge. But there it's a little silly. Here it actually kind of works. Where it's like, okay, you believe that this fucking whale's targeting this guy because of what he did. And it witnessed everything, right? And they
Yeah,
do these
by
great
the way, that's a
cuts
very
too.
effective scene
It's super effective, but
where
like
it's watching all this shit happen in the
yes.
background,
Even that
and
simple
then
cut to
it's
the
watching
eyeball,
its
dude.
mate.
Yes. Yeah.
Although it does look like it, for some reason I always laughed when they cut to the eyeball because it just looked like it was like really lazy.
It
It
looked
was
like
just
a
like,
little milky eye,
"Whoa."
like it was a little sickly. Yeah, that was like the animatronic. You were like, why wouldn't you just use the real whale? You have the real whale's eye. Um, yeah, dude, but I was so just impressed by the concept because I like you, same thing. I was ready for like, okay, the killer whale, it's gonna be terrorizing the town. Nobody did anything. It's like, no, 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 dude. This movie, it even actually, I thought this was kind of clever and such a cheap movie producer thing to be like, we need to set ourselves apart and have people be like, fuck Jaws. Like, who would ever say that? And the fucking first scene in this movie is an orca. It's showing you an orca taking on a great white, and it basically pummels the great white to death. And it's like, he's a killer. It's basically this movie saying, fuck Jaws. Here's Orca the killer whale. It happens in the first like 5 minutes. And
It's
I
kind of
thought,
cool, actually.
yeah,
I
dude, same.
appreciated that,
I thought the
actually.
ballsiness of that move, I was like, they even had the same kind of similar notes, those John Williams notes underneath the shark shot.
Yeah, exactly. That score was perfect for that. It was almost like they did a cheap knockoff version of it that you'd
Yes.
find on like a stock music thing where they're like, sounds like Jaws. But I think going back to your point with the setup, when they show all four brains and they're like, look at the orca brain, it has all the shit around it. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe they are smarter than us. They just don't have fingers and shit.
Right.
But
Yes.
they even say that too. They're like, it's born with fingers.
Yes.
And you're
They
like,
really
oh
try to make
shit.
you care for like the little orca like fetus that comes out.
It even looks almost a bit humanoid too when it comes out
Yes.
because it's like fleshy colored.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's to be honest, I made fun of it, but it is a very
It's a
effective
very,
scene.
you know what it
So
is?
much happens during that scene too.
It's super sad too. I think mostly, I think it's not just the sight of the fucking fetus is a little silly. It's that the other whale is crying. That's what it is. I think it's the whole mood of the scene where you're like, you understand that this animal's witnessing the death of its mate and its baby, and it's very effectively done. Like that's the other thing I was kind of surprised by, because again, I know 1977 has given us like Star Wars and Sorcerer and some other amazing movies, right? But like at this time in the 70s, outside of those key amazing filmmakers, dude, movies were really slow and languorous and just like they would just fucking focus on something that had nothing to do with anything. You'd be like, why are we wasting all this time? Dude, this movie does not fuck around. It's like, oh, you came to see Orca? We got orcas all over the There's never a scene where there ain't orcas in the fucking water. We're gonna be seeing 10 orcas, one orca, the orca's doing flips and shit.
Yeah, it's like you got the whole pod of orcas.
Yes. It felt very like almost like a Canon Films thing to be like, if it's on the poster, it's in the movie. The minute the movie starts, the orca's there. So I kind of
Yeah,
appreciated
the
that
payoff
workman
is
like.
perfect actually.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I gotta say, for like a '70s movie, again, that's not made by like a fucking name guy, it's very well made. The action sequences are very thrilling, and it doesn't fall into too many '70s traps. There's only one trap I think that it falls into that I don't like, and I think is indicative of that time. There's a real over reliance on Charlotte Rampling's voiceover, when it's not needed.
That
When you
was threw me off actually.
Yes, dude. Totally. You could just feel the like somebody had a shitty note and they were like, the people need to understand why Richard Harris is going out into the middle of the ocean. Like, we get it. Like, I thought that scene would have been so much more powerful. I really love that shot of him with that hood and he just looked so fucking miserable as the ship is sailing out. Like, for it to be in quiet and to have moody music behind it, like
Yeah.
if Robert Eggers made that shit, he wouldn't because it's in 1977. It would have to be like 1877. But if he made that shit, you know it would just be like a fucking violin, like just this mood, right? And the movie almost starts to achieve that, and then it has Charlotte Rampling's voiceover coming in, and it's explaining things in this like it's a way that a human being would never talk. Like she's talking like she's reading passages out of a novel, but we're to believe it's her inner
Yeah,
thoughts. That was my
it's
only
too
real gripe with
formal.
the movie. Yeah, big time. Yeah,
That
formal's a
totally
good
took
word.
me out of it too because you have it almost feels like it's very naturalistic. I thought it would be kind of like that really crappy 70s style where it's just like so much light, like everything looks
100%.
lit. This
Yes.
one is like the night is the night, it's very dark, and the daytime stuff feels very natural. It almost feels like an indie film from like Ireland or something like that. By the
Yes.
way, when I first started watching it, I thought it was like not in America because you had like Charlotte Rampling and
Oh,
then you had
yes. And Richard
Richard Harris,
Harris.
and I was just like, where the fuck are we? And then it's like, oh, we're in America, right? Isn't it
Yeah,
supposed to? Because everyone has an American accent.
right. Because he
So
wants to
that
go back to
threw me
Ireland.
off.
Yeah, he's trying to get the money to go back to Ireland. And dude, his Irish accent is good. There are some times where it's a little silly. It's still Richard Harris.
Where
Like
he's like,
Richard Harris is fucking good, man. He's a good actor. I know that's not news to most people, but like I've only seen Richard Harris in like Unforgiven, the fucking Harry Potter movies, maybe one or two other random movies where he's popped up. So I'm not familiar with him in his day as a leading man. And you know that his son is Jared Harris, right? The actor
yeah,
Jared Harris.
which
And
is
there are moments in
crazy.
this where
Yeah,
he looks just like Jared Harris. It's fucking uncanny
it's
how much they look
crazy.
like each other. Yeah.
It's like a clone of him.
Yes, yes, dude, totally. Especially like when he gets mad, they
But
kind of look the same, exactly the same.
but did you also feel as though it was like the cast is actually for that type of movie? It felt like they had a really good. Those are like big names
Yeah,
of the
dude,
time,
Charlotte
no?
Rampling, that's a big fucking deal. But you know what that is, dude?
Yeah,
That's the Dino De Laurentiis of it. Because like even though Dino De Laurentiis does make some crap, he always gets the fucking big actors. I think it's like the Italian money. He throws money on the table. He's fucking sweetens the deal. He probably gives him a cocaine hookup. It's the 70s. People want to get all coked up. So he's got, it's Italy. I've got a mountain of cocaine. And they're like, I got how'd you get
all those
Charlotte
snow
Rampling?
scenes were
Richard Harris.
cocaine.
Yeah. Dude, and if Will Sampson was coming off of an Oscar win, that's a huge get for your fucking Jaws knockoff
Yeah,
to
that's
get
true.
this Oscar winner in here and Charlotte Rampling and fucking Richard Harris. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and they do a great. You can't. They
Yeah,
don't
they're all
dial
great.
it in either. They're giving really good performances
Yeah.
outside of that voiceover that you were saying, which I
Yes.
totally agree with.
That's my only gripe for this
But
movie is like I thought the voiceover, and that's the thing. I was like, okay, well maybe they did it a little bit in the beginning and they'll sort of go away. They kept bringing it back, and I was like, fuck, if they got rid of this voiceover, to me this is like if I had to be this guy, if it's like I give this movie like 4 out of 5 stars. You remove that Charlotte Rampling bullshit, I would give this movie, I'm not kidding, I might even give it 5 stars. I really liked it a lot.
really,
I really
by the
liked it a
way,
lot.
did you feel as though they also put too much distance between the voiceover? Because you forget that there was voiceover, and then suddenly
Yes.
it just comes out of nowhere, and it's very jarring.
Which is the worst.
And
That's
you're
like the
kind of like, oh
telltale
God,
sign that like, oh, somebody had a note in post and now they're just adding shit to add shit because they think the movie's too quiet. Like they need to make it busy and they're like, oh, we can't just trust the audience. After we've given them a shot with an orca blowing up a refinery and celebrating
yeah,
with backflips, we can't have this long, slow shot of the ship going out into the water. We need to fill it with something. I can see the Italian guy being like,
oh
this is
yeah,
a dead air. Put something here. You know what I mean? Can you feel that? Like, there's something you can feel it through the
yeah.
screen a little bit.
It's like you should have the audience enjoy the silence. Oh, hold on one second. This
Whoa.
stupid ass Amazon just started playing music in the
Oh
background for no
shit.
reason. So anyway,
Maybe
I
I'll put a
totally agree
fucking
with
orca
you, but
sound effect right there, and it'll be like, and then we'll just leave it as is. Amazon was making this weird orca sound at me while I was trying to review the movie Orca, the Killer Whale.
by the way, I agree with you. I also give it high praise, and in fact, I didn't even feel like it was a knockoff because number one,
Yeah.
it's a different animal altogether. The storyline's totally different. And it actually looks amazing. Like the
Yes.
last scenes in those ice fields,
Looked
and
amazing.
I'm not sure how much was a set and what isn't, but it looks great.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
even the last shot with the sun coming behind is
Yes.
beautiful.
Dude, that bit, it sounds so cliche, but I was like, this is some epic shit. That bit where the orca hits him and separates him on the glacier, and it's just him versus the orca, and there's no way he can jump to where Charlotte Rampling is, and he's on a glacier in the middle of the ocean. That's some poetic shit, and it looks awesome.
It also it's kind of goes to with like the that orca's desire to have a one-on-one with him. It's like
Yes.
everything that orca has done is designed to separate him from everyone else. So it
Yes.
is a one versus one, and you get that old school man versus nature
I
that you get
love
in
that
like all
shit,
those
dude.
depressing American novels.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's like I can see where the gray would like take a lot from this movie. Did you find it funny though when he finally gets his comeuppance that he just gets launched from the
Yes.
tail?
I was waiting. So the tail thwack launches him to impale him on the rocks, but like I was waiting for them to be like, oh, he wanted to toy with him, and now he's gonna leap out and bite him, because but we are
Yeah.
shown that he bites, and he bites like five other people. I did think that was weird. It was all
Yeah.
I almost like in thinking about it now, and this is purely extrapolation. I'm like doing way more for this movie than it needs me to. It almost felt like he couldn't bear to even put him in to ingest him. Like he wasn't worth it. Like that's how detestable he was to the whale. He was like, "Fuck this! I
It's
don't
like
even
you're
want to.
trash.
I'm not putting you in my mouth."
Yeah.
That's what it felt like a little bit. That's how much hatred was in the whale, dude. I fucking loved.
There
It's such a good idea, and this movie does a lot with it. I know it sounds ridiculous, and it is. Some of the shit is ridiculous, but like, even that shit is so fun. The refinery explosion, the knocking of the house, like, dude, when he does the headbutt shit, and the whale is headbutting the bottom of these ships and breaking through, or even when he's headbutting, the one that made me laugh the hardest was when he headbutted the glacier to create two glaciers.
that threw me off though, because I was like, that's fucking pure ice. Like,
Yes.
how hard is this
Well,
thing's
because,
head?
dude, there's also a fucking gangster line right before that where they're like, what? Where Richard Harris has lost it, and the crew, the people that are still alive on the boat are like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, the guy from Poltergeist 2 is like, we gotta get out of here. And he's like, ice, I'll take him to the ice. It cuts both ways. He's got to come up for air, and you're like, oh my god, Richard Harris is a demented genius. He's gonna like shred this whale up through the ice so he can like fucking punch him in the face or something. He's gonna do some crazy shit, and then that never
He
happens.
almost does too, because he's with the shotgun and he's blasting at the holes whenever it tries to come up,
Yeah,
which was really cool.
yeah, that was super cool.
And
I
I
like
actually
that.
thought they would. I like you thought they would do something else with that, where the like he'd eventually run out of like rounds, and then you have to go like
Totally.
axe
Yep.
versus whale,
Yep.
which would
Or
have
try to
been
like
dope.
impale him with the end of the rifle somehow, like shove the barrel into him into the blowhole or some shit. I thought they were leading up to that. Also, the thing that she threw, I didn't realize it was the shotgun at first. When she was like, catch, I thought she was throwing him another harpoon, and I was like, oh, this is going to be hardcore. He's going to be there with a harpoon with no gun. He's just going to have to stab it. But it's the shotgun. It's not.
You know what? Here's the other thing too is like they do a really cool shot and they build up a lot of suspense to that harpoon because it looks like this is a custom made harpoon that's never been used. It's really shiny on the edge and it's like really
Yes.
cool looking. And
Yeah.
he's just like, and then it's gone.
I do love a good though. I love a good thing where the prop team pays off a hit. Like one of my favorite things. This is so stupid, but it's like it's like the one detail I remember from the movie 300 when that one guy's shield gets all the arrows in it, and then he just like takes his sword to like chop all the arrow ends off, and you hear that
That is dope.
sword cut all the wood, like cut it off, right? There was a similar moment of like that pleasing arrow ASMR in this movie where after the orca got harpooned, I was like, what's going on? The fucking harpoon's just in its back. It's like, ah, right? It's underneath these glaciers. No, dude, it passes under a glacier and you got this satisfying break where it was pushing against it to break the fucking staff of the harpoon away. And I was like, oh, fuck yes. This movie, dude, between that and the house, I was like, this movie gives you what you want, man. Like, if you see an opportunity, a visual opportunity, Orca will give it to you. I
Did you
appreciate
have a
that.
favorite kill out of all those, by the way? Like,
I
was there
think
one that really stands out to you where you're like, this one's the best?
no, the only one I can think of because the one-on-one kills I thought for me were like very silly, and I thought the general mayhem that the whale caused was so much cool. I mean, dude, the whole refinery sequence is gonna stay with me because of how ridiculous but awesome it was. And the fact that it's doing the fucking SeaWorld flips in the water as the town is burning, it's ridiculous. And I laughed, but I'm going to tell you, I rewatched that scene twice, and the second time I wasn't like after the Band-Aid had been ripped and I was like, okay, I know what to expect. I could just appreciate it on its own merits, and I was like, this is psychotic glee. Like, I really am enjoying watching this whale fuck with this town.
From the whale's perspective, can you imagine? It's like that's like more than you could wish for. It's like I was just hoping to burn down a couple boats in this pier,
Yes.
and he took out like their whole fuel system
Yes, dude.
to a degree where they won't even sell him. I like the repercussions of everything too because he can't get everything's designed in the movie too to actually keep him in that area
Yes.
and forces him to face the whale, but in a believable way. It's like he's ostracized by the town because they know that they're taking out their boats. So everything is actually, to me, as ridiculous as it is, it's also very believable. And it's shot in a way that makes it feel
Yeah.
as though this is something that could happen. There's never any moment where it's like it jumps out on land and it's doing stuff that it's always in the water, which is cool. Like
It's
you rare,
hacking.
it's
It's
like
hacking
it's
into the
very
fucking
cool.
junction box to cut it open. The whale has a wrench and it just dude, that was the funny shit when it dislodges the pipes from the house. It like hits those pipes and the water starts going everywhere and flooding the guy's house. I was like, this is fucked up. Wait, did you have a favorite kill?
I think the Bo Derek one was probably like to me it was
Yeah.
like it's kind of made it feel like you're not safe anywhere, and I felt as though that one was like the least. Most of them are just like him jumping out and like biting something and then dragging them underwater. But this one was like very visceral. That gore sequence, it looked
Yes.
very real
I
to
think that
me.
was the goriest bit in the
And it,
movie.
yeah, I think so. It was
Well,
pretty
human.
disturbing,
Besides the like
actually.
the
Yeah,
mate getting killed, that I think that was
yeah.
the bloodiest thing we saw. Um,
And you actually feel for her too, because these are just characters that are like mostly, they were just part of the crew and they didn't really have anything to do with his lust for like grabbing this poor orca.
yeah,
But you do feel, I think you feel more for the crew than him in a
yes,
lot of instances.
yeah. Especially the guy. Especially the guy that gets denied gas. Because if you think about it from his perspective, the only thing he has in the movie is Bo Derek. He has like he's getting it on with Bo Derek. That's pretty awesome. Good for you, guy. But Bo Derek dies and gets taken away from him. Then he's basically Richard Harris's like I guess like first mate, I guess they call it, right? So he has to do everything Richard Harris says, even when Richard Harris has lost his mind and is clearly like not cooperating. Then everybody in the town hates him. The guy lost his fucking girlfriend. Then he goes on a death ship in the middle of the fucking water, and then he dies, and nobody listens to him.
Yeah, I know.
It's fucking
Their
that guy. I
lives
think gets it the
suck.
worst. That guy gets it the worst. I did think it was sad though, just because I'm a fan of that guy, the Poltergeist 2 guy, Will Sampson. I was like, that fucking guy dies under the ice. I was like, that's fucked up. I thought he would at least die at the hands of the whale, right? Like some kind of
Yeah.
poetic thing, but like no, it was like so like the ice shards just coming down and like just covering him. I was like, oh, that's fucked.
I know it kind of sucks for that dude. It was just like unceremoniously crushed by ice.
Yes, that's yeah. That to me feels like a worse death than getting like knocked out of a boat as you're standing stupidly over the water.
But did you feel as though sometime maybe that was meant to be an accident? I kind of thought I was like, is this meant to be an accidental kill? Because he's kind of like he's trying to warn them and tell them of like the lore and stuff, and he's really
Yeah.
not that. He doesn't. It's sort of because he keeps Charlotte Rampling alive, and I
Yes.
guess the whale sort of knows that, and maybe the whale saw her reading to the mate on the shore, but he
Oh, and
has no
that's why.
malice towards some people that are kind of like, more on the side of the whale or kind of like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You're like going
Or
too
not on the
crazy here.
crew. If they're not officially like on the real crew
Yeah.
from before, and they're just going with Richard Harris at the end, that's a good point. Yeah, but then yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that. Then it is just kind of tragic that Will Sampson dies. It's just like he shouldn't have been there anyway, but he volunteered to go. That's the other whole thing. I did think it was crazy that I knew again. I was like, this movie's gonna give me exactly this. I was like, Charlotte Rampling is gonna be the last one alone on this ice, and you're gonna gently hear the helicopter that they SOS for, and that'll be the end of the movie. And of course, that's exactly what happened. But I was like, it would be so twisted if you're waiting and she's waiting to hear the helicopter, you never hear it, and then the credits just roll.
Oh my God. That actually would be pretty Actually, I think that would elevate the movie a bit more.
Yeah, there you go.
It's almost like
That's the
if that
A24
whole
version
man
of
versus
Orca.
nature. Yeah. Did you did it bother you though the dynamite scene?
Okay, I'm going to tell
Where
you,
it's like, ah, come on,
I
really? You're gonna
hated that
screw up a
moment
dynamite?
because of Charlotte Rampling, because it was like, pick a lane. She's there because she's like, I don't want. She's at first she's like, I'm on the side of the whale. Fuck you. Then she begins to care about Richard Harris. She's like, I don't want you to go out and kill yourself, which is basically what it feels like he's going to do. And then when she's with him, though, the thing she needs him to do so he can live is kill the whale. But when he goes to do that, to do the dynamite, and it would have saved everybody at that time who was still alive, including Will Sampson, she
Yeah.
stops him. So it felt totally unnecessary. I think all the Charlotte Rampling stuff, like the VO and the dynamite shit, all feels like a real disservice to that character because it kind of made me retroactively dislike her a little bit. Because before I
Yeah.
liked her.
Especially at the end, you're totally right because when she says like kill it, it's like now you want to do it now
Yeah.
that everybody's dead.
You're like, you didn't care about this
It's
before.
like
You
kind of too late now. Yeah.
totally. It's 100% too late. Yeah, that kind of push and pull of like, it's like pick a lane, dude. And I'm so glad they didn't cheap out because there is a moment that feels like it was set up, like where she's leaning over the boat. You have the POV of the orca, like it's gonna bite her head off, and it looks like she's gonna vomit or something. And I was like, oh, that's tragic because she has to lean over, and then that's how it's gonna nip her. And then it kind of he like Richard Harris barely pulls her away in time. I was like, oh wow, the movie doesn't go for the cheap shit. Like it's like, yeah, we could have done that, but no, it's better just to kind of like the fight again, like you're saying, the fight is with Richard Harris, it's not with her. So maybe it's like I'm not gonna play, I'm not even gonna fucking tease that.
Because I feel as that that orca at the end, she's standing so close to that edge that the
Yes.
orca could have just went like.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah,
Although
you're right.
another funny ending would be
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
if she pushes Richard, if she pushes him over the edge and then fist bumps the orca, and that's the end.
Yeah, dude. The orca puts its tail fin up and she like high fives it, like, yeah, woo.
And then it plays some happy Italian song at the end.
Like when the moon hits your eye, like that's what happened. That's amore. Yeah, dude. I was super impressed with this, and if anything, it made me feel a little bad at the end because I was like, "Uh oh, Mark, we got a good lineup for this month, but I don't know if anything's going to come close to this." I got to tell you, I think this is a pretty strong contender. I mean, not that we're like ranking these. Inevitably, it always gets to that point, but like, I don't know, man. Do I think the other movies we have lined up are going to compare to this? I don't think so. I think they'll be good. There'll be some good ones, but I don't think it's going to get close to the level of Orca.
Well, I get this feeling that we both didn't realize how good this movie is.
Yep.
Because it is, I think it's legitimately good.
Agreed.
Like, I don't, and the things that drag it down, it's just its time period. And it's like, yeah, they didn't have the effects to do it that way.
Yeah.
But considering what they were able to do, it's very believable. And there's a lot, yeah, there's some ridiculous stuff in there too, like the jumping. But the thing is, if you remove some of those looped jumps and got rid of the voiceover, like you said,
Yep.
this could be like a
Well,
contender for a pretty high score.
I feel like that's where that's the separation between a Jaws and a Jaws knockoff. Because Spielberg has the restraint to be like, no, 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 no. This is how we artfully present this. This is how the shark is seen. I don't go for cheap shit. I don't need VO like this. Like that's where the Spielberginess like bumps it up where you're like, this is in an upper echelon. We can't touch this.
Yeah,
This
like those oneer shots and stuff.
totally. If there is craft there. This has like workman like crowd pleasing like, well, there's an orca on the poster. We must have 10 orcas in one shot right away. Right? Like, and I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
love as a lover of canon films, like I appreciate that style of thinking, but when we're talking about artistry, like film art, that's what separates. That's the Spielberginess is not there, and that's what makes this just kind of like, eh.
Can I try to convince you though? But like I said, with the natural lighting and the night scenes, don't and also it being in a very widescreen format, don't you feel as though that kind of like bumped it up in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of epicness,
they
right?
were, dude. They were going
And
for it.
also,
Oh,
yeah,
go
and
ahead.
the boat looks cool, and this all the sets feel very like
Can I ask you a nerdy
believable.
question? Did you want the boat to have a cooler name? Because the boat in Jaws is called the
Bumpo.
Orca. Bumpo sucks. The boat in Jaws is called Orca, which is awesome, right? And that's another thing that I think that's what, again, the Italian movie producer of the 70s is like, we should call the movie the Orca. Then people will think it's connected to Jaws, right? Dude, when I saw the name of his boat was
They named their boat Jaws.
yeah, that would have been fucking amazing. Or they call it Bruce. Dude,
Yeah.
the fact that it was called Bumpo and Bumpo meant nothing in the movie, at least that we're shown. I thought there was going to be some reveal when he's like finally reveals to Charlotte Rampling, like, "Hey, I lost my family to a drunk driver." I thought he was going to say the nickname for the baby was Bumpo because she had a baby bump, and that's how he would refer to it. And I was like, that would make that name have meaning and feel like, oh, and then when you see him get on the boat, you want him to live, right? But they never do that.
Dude, you know what's funny about that scenario though? It's like they never gave the baby a name. He's like, I just I'll call it Bumpo.
But that's like what old Irish people would do, you know what I mean? He's just an old Irish fisherman. He's got no imagination. You know, like that's what he would call his baby, you know? Right?
Well, we didn't give it a name, but it would look like a bump.
Right.
This guy's an
I
idiot.
told you I wanted to name him after me dad, Seamus. And she's like, I ain't naming no baby Seamus. And then he's like, well, fine then, if we can't decide on the name, we'll be calling him Bumpo. Then it would at least give that fucking stupid boat, like, dude, Jaws has everything. It even has a cool boat name. Just a little detail like that, the name of the boat in
Oh
the
shit.
movie is 5-star, fantastic. Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, here, the little separation, I'm like, god damn, I wish that boat. The Jaws nerd in me wanted the boat in this to have a cooler name. Is that
By
dumb?
the way, I'm very happy you brought that up because I totally forgot that as I was watching it. I'm not even joking. I was just like, Bumpo?
What the fuck
Because
is
it almost
that?
feels like some clown name. It's
Yes,
like,
dude.
just like Bozo's ship.
You can't do anything with B and O together. Like the Bumpo,
The other thing too
Bozo.
is like, boat names are supposed to be cool, right? Or some stupid, it
Yes.
either has to be a stupid pun
Yep.
or like a cool name. And it's
Yes,
like
dude.
you had all these names to choose from and you chose Bumpo,
Yeah. What
which
the
is that
fuck?
you're right. You're totally right. That is the dumbest name for a boat. Because you see it so many times too.
It's
As it's
super
going past and
prominent.
it's like epic scene through the ice and it's like Bumpo.
That's
It's
what I'm
like,
saying. Like,
ah.
I feel like you either have to change the name of the boat, or you have to give that stupid fucking name a reason to exist. So then when we see it, we're not turned off. You know?
Yeah, and also the boat doesn't bump into anything either, so it's not even a
Yes.
cool
You're
nickname. It's like
absolutely
it's
right.
called Bumpo because it's
It,
always bumping into things.
or it could have like these cool bumpers because it knows, you know, like a tugboat. It's got to like have protection. That would have been great too. It's always bumping into things. Always bumping into things. That's why he calls it Bumpo. He's not that clever. He's an Irishman. The first mate's got to always explain away. Richard Harris isn't that clever.
He's an idiot.
He's an idiot. I like how he says that at one point. He's like, look at this idiot in the water. Idiot. Mark, where do you
Oh my
land
god, my face hurts.
with Orca on a scale of jawsome to not jawsome and anywhere in between? Where would you put Orca?
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm not even lying. I'll put it in Jossum territory, and I
Fuck yeah.
totally agree with you. I have a feeling that this is such a well-made movie. Like, even, I'm sorry, they even have shots under the ice and shit. Like, I
Yes.
didn't think they would do that stuff in the 70s. I'm sorry, they did some stuff that felt like it was more of an, it felt more like an 80s movie.
Yes, you're
I
right.
know it's
No,
only three
yes.
years away, but it didn't feel like I always equate 70s with like kind of shit. I
Same.
feel so the 70s, and also
Except for
the other
Jaws.
thing too is for yeah, that's
Except for
75.
Jaws.
But I'm telling you, I I don't care. The costumes in this were way cooler than the costumes in Jaws. Like you see some of the people in Jaws, and you're like, "Oh, 70s." This one kind of felt like
Yeah.
you could take
I
it to
guess
any
you're
time
saying
period.
outside of the crew of the Orca, like Hooper and Quint and Brody,
Well,
that
and
people are
it
dressed
felt
kind
like
of
just
like.
workwear. It's like, yeah, you don't see like bell bottoms and like
Well, I
dumb
guess so.
shit
Charlotte
like that,
Rampling,
or
super
like, even,
fashionable. Dude, and then you got fucking Luck of the Irish guy
yeah,
with
but
his
she was kind
fucking
of an
cap.
academic, so that was okay.
Oh yeah. I did laugh at him. I was like, they gave him the most Irish shit. He was wearing like the fucking long sleeve shirt, the fucking poofy Irish hat.
It's filthy too.
It's filthy. He
Here's
had
the
to
filthy Henley.
when he goes to the church, he has to borrow the tie from the first dude. Another ultimate insult to that guy. He has to loan his fucking tie to Richard Harris. That guy is fucked. He gets it the worst of this movie. That first mate. I'm with
And
Mark.
Richard Harris walks into him when he's having an intimate moment with Bo Derek. He's like, "I'm just gonna barge right in there.
Yeah. Oh
Go
shit. You're
away."
right. I didn't even think about that. What the fuck, dude? I'm with you. I'm gonna
Yeah, he's
give
kind of a
Orca
dick,
a
actually.
rating of Jawsome. It's Jawsome. Like, it's great. I think. Listen, we got some good ones coming up, and we got one questionable one. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't think it's gonna get this good again this month, people. I'm sorry. We may have programmed this shittily, and you may have the banger right out of the gate. This might be it.
That's a good way to start it, though.
Yeah, excellent kickoff to Jaws Knockoffs June. All right.